You're listening to Chatcast with your host, Tracee Dunblazier, the award-winning podcast that features interviews with luminaries of the mind-body-spirit marketplace. You'll hear from book authors and publishers, store owners and product creators, filmmakers, musicians, and many more, who'll all share insight and wisdom to help open your eyes to new creative possibilities. If you fancy yourself as a visionary thinker, then Chatcast is the place for you. Now, here's your host, spiritual empath, shaman, and best-selling author, Tracee Dunblazier.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Tracee Dunblazier with Chatcast. I am here today. We've had some very exciting technical issues, which is always so much fun. And I have a very special and very patient guest today. Her name is Leigh Marino, and it makes perfect sense because she is a children's book author. So she was like, "Oh, no, it's okay. Just count to 3." We had so much fun. So Leigh is a children's book author and a filmmaker. Isn't that interesting? She has a passion for using her creativity to tell stories and connect, enliven, and encourage new ways of thinking. Underneath every tale is a subtle message designed to stir the passions of the heart and land deep in your bones. So welcome everybody, storyteller and children's book author. Good Lord, I'm trying to erase this and get to the... please welcome. There we go. So now it's 3, 2, 1. Leigh Marino.
Hi. Wow, that huge introduction. All the suspense.
I know. It was literally killing me. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. And where are you located?
I live in New Jersey,
Okay.
in a little town called Frenchtown. It's right on the Delaware River.
Oh,
And right
fantastic.
across the river is Pennsylvania. So I'm actually in Pennsylvania at the moment, which is where I work.
Okay.
10 minutes away is my house in New Jersey.
Oh,
So
fantastic. That's such a beautiful area, and it's probably a beautiful time at this short period before it gets humid and hot and gross.
Yep, exactly. It's gorgeous here right now.
So you have written a book. I'm going to show it briefly in the stream now. It's called To Be a Christmas Tree. And what inspired, not just what inspired the book, but what inspired you to write children's book? A children's book.
Well, I'll take you back to a previous book that I have called The Tiny Girl and the Egg. So I have a daughter. She's now 16, but when she was younger, I would put her to bed at night and tell her invisible stories, which were basically stories that didn't exist on her bookshelf. I would just make them up on the spot and we'd have fun with them. Sometimes they were silly and, or about something happened in her day or whatever. And a few of them I thought were actually really good. So one night I jotted one down and always had it in mind that I wanted to make that into a real book. So when she was 7, I wrote The Tiny Girl and the Egg, and then I took her and her friends and we did a whole photo shoot where she stars as the tiny girl and then she has friends that are also in it. And I put it together and I made it a real book and I gave it to my family for Christmas. Just one of those things online where you can make a book.
Right.
But then I always had a dream like this would be so cool to actually be a real book and I'd see it like sold in a shop. So then when COVID happened, I've trained as a filmmaker. I've been writing screenplays for a few years. Now that my daughter's older, I'm focusing more, on that passion of mine and I have more time to dedicate to that. So I was writing screenplays. And when COVID happened, then I suddenly had this time and some extra money to self-publish. So I stopped screenplay, put that on pause, and revamped the book and then self-published it. So that was my first book. And then I wasn't planning on really writing anymore. My dream is to make movies. So the story of how to be a Christmas tree came about was one year I was putting our Christmas tree out by the side of the road after the holidays. And I thought, I didn't really spend much time with our tree. Like, I just had
Mhm.
it as a decoration, didn't really think about it, and then threw it out. Like, this
Mm.
is a life, like a
Yeah.
being gave its life for us to have a decoration. And
Right.
I should at least recognize that and honor that. So
Hmm.
I thought I'll do that next year. So the following year came, and I spent a lot of time with the tree. I Eckhart Tolle is one of my favorite spiritual teachers, so
Right.
I study a lot of his teachings, and I was practicing connecting my presence and my beingness with the presence and the beingness of the tree. And
Right.
this was this lovely experience. It felt very meaningful. I could feel its like life force. And I thought, like, this tree is dying.
Mm.
And I recognized that I essentially took its life, but this feels like a good thing. Like, how could this be a good thing? And
Right.
in that moment, a vision came to me, an answer
Hmm.
of that question
Hmm.
in the form of an idea for an animated short film.
Right.
So it just hit me. And so I wrote it down. And then a year later, I sat down after The Tiny Girl and the Egg was out and all that. I sat down
Hmm.
to go back to my other screenplay. But what was coming to me was this tree story. So I was
Right.
like, all right, let me write the screenplay for that. So I sat
Right.
down to write it, and I was typing it all out, and it came out as this rhyming children's book that I didn't know the story.
Right.
It just kind of came out
Right.
as I was writing it. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, it's a book first, and
Yeah.
then it'll be the film.
Hmm.
So that sparked that whole journey.
Wow, that's beautiful. And so, as far like business wise, how has your entrance into publishing and self publishing been? Have you been able to sell books? Have you been like is it have you found easy ways to market?
Well, when I first did The Tiny Girl and the Egg, I didn't have as much confidence. I was just starting out. It was my first project.
Right.
And my goal was if I could get it into this certain store on Main Street in Frenchtown, like, I've
Right.
made it. Like, that's
Yes.
it's had success. So I
Yes.
did that. I approached
Hmm.
her. She bought some, it was on the shelf. I was like, great. And I had no interest in marketing. I just wanted to make stuff. I didn't want to go out and sell it. So
Yeah.
I just, friends and family bought it.
Hmm.
Um, but beyond that, I didn't do much.
Hmm.
And so I still have a bunch of books.
Yes.
But
We
then
all do.
yeah, but then when I did To Be a Christmas Tree, I didn't want to self publish that. And I knew I wanted an illustrator. I knew this was a bigger, more meaningful project. And I
Hmm.
didn't want to do the illustrations. So I had no idea what to do.
Right.
I did not go to school for that. I know nothing or knew no one in the publishing world. So
Right.
that was a whole journey for me of
Hmm.
just following my heart step by step, reading the story to anybody who would listen. Most people would cry when I would read it to them, and they would say,
Right.
Leigh, this is great. Like, I know this person, and I would just follow whatever lead I had
Right.
until eventually one of my friends who was a really big fan of it met this random woman. She told her about it, and she was excited. So she said, here, she hooked us up. I met this woman. Her name's Dana, and she
Hmm.
runs a nonprofit organization that goes into schools and helps children process grief and loss. And
Nice.
so there's an element of grief and loss in this book, which is
Sure.
why, people are touched, they cry.
Right.
So I got together with her, I read her the story, and she cried. And she said, Leigh, like, I want to use this book with my kids in my programs. So I'm going to do whatever I can to help you make this. So
Wonderful.
she went home and she looked at all the books that she uses, and her
Hmm.
nonprofit sent me the names of those books and the publishers who published those. One of them was The Invisible String by DeVore's
Uh-huh.
Publications. And so once I had that like hook of like, yes, it's a Christmas story. Yes, everyone has,
Yeah.
can relate to it. It's a classic. But once I
Right.
had that like this is how specifically it can be used to
Mm-hmm.
help people process grief and loss, not just like children, but also adults. And you can use it
Right.
in this way. Once I had that, I was able to write a really compelling email and
Right.
proposal, I guess. And
Yeah.
DeVores was who wrote back. So
Wonderful.
the rest is history.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
really amazing. I think that you were also it was entered into the Cover Visionary Award
Mhm.
too. So
Mhm.
we'll be hearing about that coming up
Mm.
on June 6th.
Yes,
You have to make sure to tune in to see if you won.
I will.
Yes, it's June 6th at 4 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. So make sure that
Okay.
people tune into that.
Okay.
So uh, so your next goal with this is Charlotte, and
Hi,
Charlotte's
Charlotte. Hi.
really more specifically it's Charlotte's tail that's like back and forth. So your next goal is you want to make this into a movie, into an
Yep.
animated short,
Yep.
or
Mhm.
how
Yes.
what's uh-huh
Yep.
that and so for the same purposes to use for grieving children.
Um, yes, and not only that.
Mm-hmm.
It's for everyone. But
Sure.
yes, it absolutely can be used for that.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to win an Oscar. It's such a
Okay.
good story. It really
Yeah.
is such a touching story. There's
Uh-huh.
no reason why I believe it shouldn't. So that's my goal for this one. We'll see.
Yes, we will. There is Aaron's Hope. Aaron's it's a grief. I sorry, I've got cat hair now stuck to my lip gloss. Um, there is a grief company. It's a company that provides grief groups specifically to children, and there is a summer camp. I think it's called Aaron's Camp. Every year, if you Google that, they're a wonderful company that uses stuff like this to be able to help children grieve the loss of a loved one.
Hmm.
Um,
I'll definitely
and,
look that up.
and it's here in LA, so there's a lot of the folk, a lot of the donors are connected to movie people as well. So that's
Cool.
definitely an idea for you.
Cool.
So what uh, do you have another? Do you have a day job as well? What else do you do?
Mhm. Yeah, so my partner's company is a coffee roasting business.
Mm-hmm.
His family owns a general store. They've owned it since 1980 or 79.
Yeah,
And it's right here on the canal, the Delaware Canal.
nice.
And so there's the general store where they have breakfast and lunch and gift stuff. His parents
Uh,
live above it. And then he and his brother run the sister company, which is the coffee roastery. So I work for
nice.
them part time. I do their marketing, their website, graphic design, videos,
Yeah,
anything that they need. So I do that as
wonderful.
well. Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting. So, what other books are planned down the pike?
Well, books are not really my goal. They've just
Uh
kind of
huh.
happened. So I can't say that. I have, like I said, this animated short film. And then after that, I want to do a feature film that I'm writing. It's based on a true story of a friend of mine who is a truck driver. It's
Mm-hmm.
completely different. It's not for children.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely not.
about his foray into the truck driving world. He's a very, like, I don't want to say naive, but I've taken his story and fictionalized it. So the
Right.
character is very naive and optimistic and sensitive. And
Mm-hmm.
it's this kind of person's foray into this, like, deep underworld,
Yeah.
underbelly of our country and things that
Mm.
you don't see and know
Yeah.
happen. And it's kind of, he has to learn how to make peace and accept the unacceptable.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. That's
yeah.
a good story, and we are definitely at a time right now in our country where we're having to deal with the unacceptable and find ways of coping or resisting, or whatever your role in it is, finding a way to be that. So that sounds very timely.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. So how if people would like to reach you, how can they do so? Do you have a website?
I have a website. My my company is called Encourage Thought. So the
Mm-hmm.
website is encouragethought.org.
Okay.
I'm on Instagram. That's the best place to find me,
Okay.
at Encourage Thought. And yeah, those are probably the best two places. I'm starting a YouTube channel. I'm going to be
Good.
doing more invisible stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to be writing a bunch of more stories that, pull me from the ethers and then telling them on YouTube,
Nice.
for families and children to enjoy. So can look for that as
Wonderful.
well. Yeah.
That is great. Well, it's been such a pleasure to meet you, and thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for not only your graciousness in our in my tech, as it turns out, my own technical difficulty, and for all the good work that you're doing in this beautiful book, and for divorce. And again, just as a reminder to everybody, June 6th at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook and YouTube. You can watch the 2025 Cover Visionary Awards to see the best in the mind, body, spirit marketplace. So I hope people will tune in for that. And again, reach out to you at encouragethought.org. This has
Mhm.
been Leigh Marino. Her book right here. You can get it wherever books are sold. It's called To Be a Christmas Tree. So please support her. Buy that book. Great Christmas gift, because that time is going to be here before you know it.
Mhm.
And again, thank you so much, Leigh, for being here with us today.
Thank you, Tracee. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Yes. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.